What's up, YouTube? It's me, Concluded. It's time for me to get a little upset. Uh, this is a little bit more like the first videos I did, I guess, when I first started to review anime, where I'm just going to be talking about one thing instead of my bulk videos, because I just watched Dragon Ball Evolution, the 2000 something live action adaptation of Dragon Ball. Now, I love Dragon Ball. I've loved Dragon Ball since I was a little baby. I'll love it till the day that I die, mark my words. But I had never watched this because it was infamously bad. And I remember, I do think I did want to watch it when it came out when I was a little boy. But, I was like, Mom, can we go watch this? And then she struck me. But I never watched it, and then, I would go online and people would be like, hey, it actually sucks penis. So then I wouldn't watch it. And I've been avoiding it. Actually, I've been avoiding it, but 2 years or three years ago now, I was gonna do a video just like this about it, and I watched half of it, maybe not even half of it. It's only an hour and a half long, so like that's like one bonus point it gets, is that it's not like a 3 hour long Avengers Endgame style. It just took an hour and a half, and then it was over, thankfully, and now I never have to watch it again, because once I make this video, it'll have served any purpose it could ever have. But I remember 3 years ago, 2022, at least I have a notes app of notes that I took when I first started to watch it, and then when I watched it right now. And it says 2022. So in 2022, I watched half of it, and then I remember my food was done, so then I went and grabbed my food, and I was like, well, I guess I could just eat while I continued to watch Dragon Ball fuck-ass Evolution, or, I could do anything else. So then I did anything else. But then, I was sitting here in the middle of the night, because it wouldn't be a concluded video unless I did it in the middle of the night when I should be asleep. And I was like, it's time. I gotta watch Dragon Ball Evolution. If I don't, who will? To quote Goku from Dragon Ball Z, and Wrath of the Dragon. I know, I'm a super fan. I know all the names of the movies. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna Wendigoon style fucking go through what I've written down and just bitch and moan and cry and shit. The movie opens where it's like, many years ago, there were sages, and they fought against the evil demon Piccolo, and then they used their magic powers to channel the Mafuba and seal him within the earth. Now, right away, I'm going to give them some daps, some up tops, some kudos for calling it the Mafuba instead of when I grew up and there was the original Dragon Ball anime dub, and they directly translated it to the evil containment wave. So, they at least said Mafuba. But then they show the Mafuba. And in the source material, first of all, Piccolo's not sealed in the core of the earth. At least I don't think so. It's been a while. It's been about a year since I read the manga again. But in the manga, in the original source material, actually, there's, instead of it being like a group of martial arts masters like in this, it's one guy. Well, actually, don't get me wrong, there was a group of them, but Piccolo is such a Giga Chad that he killed them all. And then there's only Master Mutai Ito and his students Shen and Roshi, and then Shen has a rice cooker, and then he uses the Mafuba and seals King Piccolo into the rice cooker. But this movie, they were like, this is Hollywood, baby. We can't. Who cares that Dragon Ball was a gag series at first? We can't have silly goofiness, even though we will later. That's shit. Piccolo was sealed into an urn, a cool demon urn, and then they buried him at the core of the earth. Isn't that awesome? It also, when it's like Piccolo was this evil demon lord who has a minion called the Ozaru. Now, the Ozaru, I guess another thing to give, like, hey, they call it the Ozaru instead of, when I was a kid and they dubbed it and they called it the Great Ape, which in the source material, it's like the alien race, the Saiyans, look at the full moon, and then they transform from like a humanoid form into a gigantic monkey, the Great Ape. In this, they were like, the Ozaru Great Ape is Piccolo's minion. And then they show a shot of it, and it's like a... kind of like if a werewolf, but it was a monkey, and it looks like shit because it's 2006 CG. And I was like, ooh, that sucks, and that's not what the Ozaru is. Then it opens up the movie, like it starts the actual plot of Goku, played by a 20 something white man instead of an Asian man, which was a decision. It shows Goku training with Grandpa Gohan, and it shows them like balancing on ropes, and then it's like whoever hits the ground first loses. And then there's a really ugly CGI fly that Goku uses airbending magic to shoot into his grandpa's mouth, but then his grandpa says like no you, and he has a red stick, which is clearly supposed to be like the power pole from the original manga. They never call it that or anything. It's just like a Leonardo DiCaprio, like, I know that, and I do. But instead of falling on the ground, and all old Asian men look the same, am I right? Grandpa Gohan, uses his power pole and no use, and then he jumps back up and then knocks Goku over, so Goku loses. And then Grandpa Gohan's like, all right, no, hold on. Before this, it cuts to a scene of Grandpa Gohan like cooking up like chicken feet and then like just full chickens, and it's supposed to be like, ha ha ha, aren't Asian people fucking freaks for eating meat? And I was like, not really. What are you trying to insinuate, Hollywood? And then Grandpa Gohan is like, all right, Goku, go to school. And Goku's like, I don't want to go to school. They'll beat my ass up. Even though I get so heckin' mad, I could beat them up with one punch if I really wanted to. But you didn't raise me to do that, did you, Grandpa Gohan? And then Grandpa Gohan says some shit about believing in himself. And then Goku goes to school, and he goes to school on a fucking moped. And then he parks it in the school parking lot. And then his bully, who looks like it's played by like a 35-year-old man, crashes his like big yellow sports car into Goku's moped, and then Goku's like, you just broke my fucking moped. Hey man, you broke my moped, that's not cool. And then the bully, who I think was called Palmer, is like, hey yo Giku, what's up man, what are you gonna do about it? And then Giku has to hold back his rage and not one punch this kid, even though he I guess could, because he's a good martial artist. Like, it makes sense in the original series when Goku has like monstrous strength because it's played as like a goof, but this is played completely straight, that it's just like, well, he hangs out with his adopted grandpa so he can punch real good, but like, and really strong. I'm losing my train of thought. Let's I skipped a scene. Fuck. In the scene when Grandpa Gohan's like, go to school, Goku, when he's lamenting about how he could one punch his fucking bullies, he's like, Grandpa, can't you give me some good advice, like how to talk to a girl without stammering over my words? And I'm like, oh no, because in the source material, Goku, he is a wild child. He had Grandpa Gohan. Grandpa Gohan dies, so then he's just a kid that doesn't know shit about shit, and he's lost in the woods. And they try to make him like a contemporary normal kid. So I guess they were like, well, Goku needs pussy. Goku, more than anything, wants to have sex with his classmates. And then, Grandpa Gohan's like, you gotta believe. And then before Goku goes to school, or after, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Grandpa Gohan's like, oh, happy birthday, Goku, here, I want to give you this. He busts out a Dragon Ball. This is another, like, hey, this is a moment to give them props, where he calls it I have to read it, Sushinshu, which is, like, the direct word for 4-star Dragon Ball, instead of just saying 4-star Dragon Ball. And I'm like, that's cool, because they do that in the manga, although I think anytime after that, they would just say, like, 4-star ball, 5-star, whatever star ball. When Goku goes to school, he's wearing like a orange and blue hoodie to reference his like manga outfit, where he wears blue shirts and wristbands and shoes with an orange gi. It's cringe. I mean, I get what they're doing. I get, like, it makes sense to do that, but it doesn't make it any less sad. Okay. Yeah, and then it hard cuts to Mai searching for the Dragon Balls. In this movie, she's like Piccolo's underling, and in this, she's like a sexy assassin, like white man fantasy of what like a badass Asian woman would be, where she's like got the specific like bangs cut and then like a tight red leather Ada Wong style outfit. Uh, in the manga, Mai is like a fool. She's an idiot. She's like not. She's kind of Piccolo's underling, but not at first. In the beginning of the manga, she works with Emperor Pilaf and Shu, and Shu and Mai are the underlings of Pilaf, and they're all fucking idiots, and they can't do anything right. And I think there's, if I'm remembering right, there's a scene where like the Emperor Pilaf has the main gang captive, and then to try and seduce Bulma, the female lead, Emperor Pilaf like does a like blows a kiss at her, and then Shu and Mai like act like he pulled his dick out and started helicoptering it. Like they're like, that was the craziest thing you could have ever done. And then later they come back at the end of the manga, the end of the Piccolo saga, to be Piccolo's minions. Although they don't really do anything, they're just kind of there to be like, these are the only other characters that ever hunted the Dragon Balls. Let's call them back. Oh yeah, then it cuts back to the school. Goku's in science class or whatever the fuck, and he just is not paying attention to the lesson at all. He looks over at Chi-Chi, his love interest. In the original manga, Chi-Chi is his love interest, although, you know, they make it contemporary, so they're just two teens at a school, instead of him being a wild child and her being some random princess. And he's just staring at Chi-Chi, and then it cuts to like a dream sequence of her like sexually eating a strawberry while like licking a strawberry and looking at Giku, and before his teacher's like, hey numbnuts, you want to pay attention to my fucking lesson, dude? Hold on, my notes are not done good, especially because it was 3 years ago. They call, oh yeah, they refer to the fact that Piccolo is a Namekian, but they just call him a Namek, even though they're called the Namekians. And that's so far ahead. Like, in the original manga, Piccolo's just a demon at first, until later it's revealed, oh, by the way, he's not a demon, he's an alien. Until Dragon Ball Daima, where they're like, oh no, they were demons who then left the demon realm to be aliens, and now they're aliens, but they were. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but it does to me. It cuts back to the school. God, this movie was shot like shit. It cuts back to the school. Goku walks up. Chi-Chi is like, she can't get in her locker because they all take swipe cards for some reason, instead of just having a lock on them, or like, you know, just a code embedded into the locker. I don't know. And then Goku uses his magical airbending powers to just slam open all the lockers with really bad CG. And then she looks over because he's like, whoosh, and then he like is like, oh, and then he waddles away, and he's just like jogging like he has like he shit himself. And then she walks up to him, she's like, hey, it's Goku, right? And he's like, and she's like, was that you? And he's like, yeah. And she goes, you used your key, right? And he's like, hang on, you know what key is? And I'm like, what is happening? She invites him to her, she's having like a house party, and she's like, I know you suck and everyone hates you, but for some reason I have a crush on you. You should come to my party. Oh, okay. Reading these notes, I fucked up, and the weird cooking thing happens now. But, you know, Grandpa Gohan's only in like 3 scenes, so you'll have to forgive me. There's a scene of Giku getting ready for the party, and he like gels down his hair super flat, and then it flings back up because, hey, Goku in the source material has spiky hair, so in this he has to have really ugly gelled up hair, and it looks like shit because it doesn't look anything like Goku's hair, because Goku is a cartoon character. Also, take a shot every time I say in the source material, because I'm trying to end your life. Oh yeah, Giku gets to the party and he's like, hey guys, leave me alone, I was invited. And then there's this 30-year-old white dude who I have in my notes, delivers a cool badass Macho Man line. I don't even remember what he said, and I just watched the movie. And he pours a cup full of water on Goku's, not even on his feet, just like next in front of them. And I'm like, why isn't that beer? Like maybe that would make the movie rating go up. I don't know. Uh, and then like they all try to beat up Goku, and then it like shows them all like swing and a miss, swing and a miss, swing and a miss, and then there's one bully that's an Asian guy, and he does a like arms up pose and is like "Whata," and then like misses. Why did they make the one Asian guy like do kung fu? What what was with that? Uh, the head bully. Oh yeah, the main bully guy that earlier in the movie destroyed Goku's moped grabs a fire poker and tries to like to kill Goku, kill Giku. Uh, Giku dodges it. Oh fuck! Oh my god, this is one of the funny scenes in the movie. He tries to stab Giku with a fire poker, and then Giku jumps and slides across Homeboy's car, but like on the flat of his head. And I think they want you to be like, oh my god, that was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. But it's just funny. I actually remember I'd seen like a meme online where it's just like the shot again and again of the bully swinging the fire poker, and then Goku sliding across the car while like sound effect plays. Um, oh yeah, Chi Chi sees Giku like he doesn't fight back. He just like dodges all the bullies every move, and they like because he's so good at dodging, he makes them destroy Homeboy's car on his own without doing anything himself, and that really turns Chi Chi on. She's like, oh man, I mean I knew he looked like a freak weirdo before, but now I really want him. Oh yeah. Then it cuts away from the party to Giku's house, Grandpa Gohan's house, which also in 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 the source material, Giku, fuck, no, in the source material, actual Goku and Grandpa Gohan live on Mount Paozu in just like a one by one shack, uh, in the middle of nowhere. And then in this, they just like live in the city. But or maybe they live in the countryside, and then he takes the moped to school. It's 5 a.m. Cut me some fucking slack here. Also, this movie's such a dick. Who cares if I get it wrong? It doesn't really matter. Um, so it cuts back to Piccolo at Grandpa Gohan's house, and then he goes like, "You're going to give me the Dragon Ball," and then he squeezes his hand, and it like hurts Grandpa Gohan. Like he uses like the Force on Grandpa Gohan. Oh yeah, they kept being like, "You need to use your ki," and until the end of the movie, every time ki comes up, it's like they're equating it to telekinesis instead of ki, which is like your inner energy, which in Dragon Ball they used to like do their crazy beams and shit. But in this they're like ki, they mean telekinesis. So all Goku does is like move shit with his mind, and until the end of the movie when they do actual shit. But Piccolo squeezes his hand a couple times, and it like gives Gohan a heart attack, and it levels the house. Um, this seems like a random note. Poster in his room with a soccer team that wears orange and blue to justify why he wears those colors. I didn't notice that this time. I guess I noticed I was more eagle-eyed last time, but that's fucking stupid. I'm glad I wrote that down so I could say, hey, that's friggin' stupid. Uh, hang on. Oh yeah, Giku is at the party, and then he just knows mystically. He's like, I can sense that my grandpa is in trouble. Goodbye, Chi Chi. And then he runs home, or he mopeds home. What? No, his mopeds. Ah, he goes home, and then the house is completely destroyed. Like it looks like it got hit by a fucking hurricane. And Goku's like, he like sneaks in and he like puts up his nukes. He's like, is someone breaking and entering? And then Bulma shows up, played by Amy Rosem, who I think is from Shameless or Skins or something like that. They tussle. Hang on, I gotta read my notes first. This is part of the movie I don't remember. Oh yeah, okay. So Goku and Bulma, Giku, God forbid I give him Goku's real name. Giku and Bulma have a little tussle, and then this, I guess this must be after they found Grandpa Gohan dead, because it makes no sense otherwise. Or yeah, whatever. They have a little fight, and then she's like, "I could have killed you," and he's like, "No, no, I'm badass." And then they realize that they have to hunt down the Dragon Balls to stop King Piccolo. And there's a scene where he's like, "How do you know how to find the Dragon Balls?" And she goes, "Oh, I created this machine to hunt down the energy of the Dragon Balls." And he goes, "Some kind of Dragon Ball energy locator?" And she goes, "We should call it the DBE." And that's when I like pause the movie and my eyes roll out of the back of my head, because it seems like they're trying to, like, that machine exists in the source material, and it's called the Dragon Radar. And, you know, it's a radar that senses Dragon Balls. But in this, they were like, we can't call it the Dragon Radar because that's fucking stupid. And anyone that likes Dragon Ball is a little fucking twerp. So we're going to call it the DBE. What? Just call it the fucking... Just call it the Dragon Radar. Please. You've committed to Shenlong. You committed to Muten Roshi. You committed to Ozaru. But you were like, it's the DBE. It's not the Dragon Radar. Fuck you. Okay, let me look at the notes. Oh yeah, Bulma. So in Dragon Ball, there's things called capsules, and it's basically like something that's like pill sized, like a capsule. Like pills are capsules. And you like click it, and then you throw it, and then whatever is inside the capsule like poofs up. And in, you know, it could be a bunch of things. In capsules, there's houses, there's vehicles, there's, at one point, Master Roshi gives a man a capsule that's just full of, that has a well in it. Bulma throws the capsule, and then it becomes a vehicle, but it's 2006 CG, so it looks like, if you've ever seen Spy Kids 3D Game Over, it looks like the vehicles from that in the Mario Kart racing scene. Oh yeah, then they go like, we have to go to Mount Paozu, and then in original Dragon Ball, like I said, Goku lived in Mount Paozu, and it was just mountainside, forest, middle of nowhere. In this, it's just a city. They go to see. They're hunting down Master Roshi because he was homeboys with Grandpa Gohan, and in original Dragon Ball, Master Roshi doesn't live in Mount Paozu. Goku does. And he lives in a remote house on a very small island in the middle of the ocean. In this, they have his house in like a crater in the middle of a giant city, in the city of Paozu. It's kind of like in the movie Up, I think. Like, I haven't seen Up, but isn't it like that, where like the old guys got this shitty little house in like the middle of a metropolitan city? Whatever. Oh yeah, to pay homage to OG Master Roshi in the original Dragon Ball, because it was a comedy series. What's funnier than SA and harassment? So Master Roshi's a little fucking freak, and he's constantly harassing the teenage Bulma. And in this, they were like, to show that he's a weirdo, he has a shirt with like a bikini babe on it, like the equivalent of if you go to an anime convention and there's someone wearing an Ahiago sweater from all those the hentai. And Master Roshi is like really annoying, at least at this point. When he shows up, they have him act all like wacky, silly, goofy. I think to be like the source material, he's the only one acting like, hey, this was a cartoon. But because everything else is played so straight, even though it's bad, Master Roshi acting like that is also fucking cringe. And it just made me roll my eyes. And then he's like, oh, I probably shouldn't do the Asian. I probably shouldn't do the Asian accent. This is a little fucked up of me. But he's like, you're Gohan's kid. It's pronounced Gohan, and they, like I said, they commit to so much. Where like in the manga he's called Muten Roshi, and then in the dub they changed it. They what am I trying to fucking say? They localized it by saying Master Roshi, and then in this they committed to calling him Muten Roshi. But then they get Grandpa Gohan's name wrong by saying Gohan. At the time this movie came out, the dub of the anime was over. They could have just watched a single episode of Dragon Ball or of Z. GT was probably done by this movie coming out, I think. Just watch any episode where Gohan is featured and listen to them say Gohan and not Gohan, Gohan. And also, you see Grandpa Gohan at the beginning of the movie, but because he's Grandpa Gohan, Goku just says Grandpa. And then they leave it to Master Roshi to be like, your Grandpa Gohan. And I'm like, it's the first time they say his fucking name and it's wrong. And then they proceed to say it wrong the rest of the movie. Alright, oh yeah. Then they're like, alright, let's go hunt down the Dragon Balls. And then to like kind of pay homage to the original series, they have Goku put on a backpack of like a bunch of shit, like a bunch of heavy shit. And then, Bulma and Roshi hop in the Spy Kids 3D bike. Roshi gropes Bulma. That's at least canonical to the source material. Roshi would do that shit. And he's like, oh, my bad. Boing. And then they ride the motorcycle. Goku runs next to them. They go to some random remote place, and it's like a bunch of martial artists fighting. And then Chi-Chi, Goku's high school crush, is there. And then they're just like, that's Chi-Chi. And he's like, you're a fighter? As if they didn't like show their hand too early when she's like, was that Ki? Then she's like, by the way, I'm gonna be in a tournament later, you should come. And he's like, yeah, totally, babe. And then they leave and they get they're riding their bike or whatever, and then it cuts to a guy's hand, boom, explosion. Ooh, they're caved in. And this is when they shoehorn in the character Yamcha. Now Yamcha, in the original manga, in the source material, is he's a bandit in the desert, which they show, but he's a kind of a idiot because it's a comedy. Like early on, it was a comedy series, so these people are almost always bumbling fools. And Yamcha in the movie is like cool, Dude Man McCool, where he's like every line it sounds like he's trying to like puff out his chest and sound fucking badass, but also, whoever played Yamcha cannot act. Every single line deliberately sounds like he's reading it directly off the script, and also that he doesn't speak English. He doesn't have any accent of any kind, but holy shit, it's like they created this guy in a lab just for this fucking movie. Oh yeah, he traps them in a hole. They're just hanging out. He walks up, and Bulma has like some super high-tech thing. He says whatever the name of it is. And he's like, whoa, is that the super duper extrapolator McGiggle? And he sounds like he has no idea what it is either, but he must, because he fucking sees it and instantly knows. Oh yeah, it then cuts to Piccolo, and in the source material, King Piccolo can like shit eggs out of his mouth and like create little babies. Not babies because they're instantly grown, but he shits out these eggs, and he's like, you're my demon children. And then he has like minions that are his little demon children. And in this, they show King Piccolo in his sky ship, in his Final Fantasy VII airship, and he is in a machine that looks like it's straight out of Alien vs. Predator. Puts his arms in, it like a bunch of needles grab him, and then it starts sucking out his blood. And he creates like some skeleton homunculus that are supposed to be, his demon children, but in this they just look like generic monsters from any movie. That's actually kind of like a running thing in this movie, where like when they need specific shit, it looks like they Googled like cool demons, and then they were like, just use that, just put that in the movie. Yamcha, when he sees the super duper extrapolator, is like, I'll help you guys out if you give me that. And they're like, bet. He hops down in the cave in with them. There just happens to be a Dragon Ball right down there with them. They bust through the wall to get the Dragon Ball, but also inside the cave wall is a volcano for some reason. And then they're going through the volcano, and the skeleton homunculus are just there suddenly. They're very fast, I guess. They start fighting them. Giku beats them handily. But because it's a volcano, there's lava everywhere. And then Giku goes, I'm making a bridge. And then he throws all the skeleton homunculus into the lava to like make footholds, and then there's a really, really ugly ass shot of him hopscotching across the dead bodies of the homunculus to get to the Dragon Ball. He grabs the Dragon Ball. It smash cuts to Mai punching Giku in the face, and then he falls over. How does this scene end? Hold on, let me look up my notes. I didn't write this part down. That's good. I think he beats Mai and then she runs away. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But he grabs the Dragon Ball. And every time he grabs a Dragon Ball in this movie, he gets mystical visions of the future. That's not a thing the Dragon Balls do in the original manga. I don't know why they decided to do that. Okay, yeah, after this, they are now in the city where the tournament was taking place, I think. And it cuts to Bulma and Yamcha, who, you know, have barely spoken at this point. But then she's like, I always wanted to be famous. And in the original manga, she's the daughter of the richest man on Earth, so she would be famous. But in this, they forego that, I guess. And Yamcha's like, I've always wanted to be rich. And she's like, is that why you robbed us? And then 2 seconds pass, they go to kiss each other. And in the manga, they do end up as a couple. But this seems like they could have left that out, right? Like, I mean, they could have left Yamcha out completely. He serves next to no purpose. Other than to get to the volcano, I guess. But they go to kiss. They don't. They get interrupted by a random food vendor, I think. And then they're like, oh, come on, we gotta go get the Dragon Balls. Ah, yes. This is when they showed the tournament scene where Chi-Chi's in the tournament. Now, in original Dragon Ball, the tournaments are some of the best parts of the manga, where Goku and his friends enter the tournament, and then there's cool fights. Yippee! In this, it's Chi-Chi, who's ambiguously a martial artist. She is, in the manga, at some point a martial artist, but that's towards the end. And she's not a very good one, because she loses instantly to Goku. Although I guess that's not fair, because it's Goku. In this, Giku does not take place in the tournament. He just goes there because of reasons. And then she fights Mai. Mai cuts her, steals her blood, and then they go to... Oh yeah, there's a random temple where, Roshi is like, we'll learn the secrets and train there, Giku. And the master of the temple, instead of being like, maybe, forgive me if this is racist, but it's like a martial arts temple. You'd think it would be an Asian man, right? But it's Ernie Hudson. Did they put him in the trailers? Was like Ernie Hudson a big draw to this movie? Why is he here? And he has like 3 lines total, so it wouldn't, if anyone was like, I'm gonna go see that heckin' new Dragon Ball movie to see Ernie Hudson, that's awesome, they would be pretty fucking disappointed. But this is when they introduce the move from Dragon Ball, the Kamehameha. When Roshi says Kamehameha in the movie, I think Homeboy didn't know how to say it, because every time he says it, he would go, the Kamehameha. And I'm like, it's not Kamehameha. It's not like a super hard word. But Homeboy clearly had difficulties. And then he's like, here's how you do it. And he does a weird little dance. And the first time you ever see the Kamehameha, Roshi does do a like arm movement to like channel his ki. But in this, he like actually is like throwing punches or whatever. And then he ends by like slamming his chest like a gorilla and then goes, Kamehameha! And then he like shoots out a fireball, a red fireball. The Kamehameha is blue. I think in the original manga it was supposed to be yellow, but then when they made the anime it was blue. So it's been blue ever since. And then Giku tries it out, and his is blue because for some reason it's color coordinated, I guess. And his training is to master the Kamehameha and light up a bunch of lanterns with the Kamehameha, because in this verse I guess it is fire. Oh yeah, I skipped over a note where when they meet Master Roshi, he's like, I'm gonna help you learn your airbending skills." He dead ass says airbending. Like at first I was joking, and then they're like, "You're the avatar of all four elements. Fuck you." But yeah, I guess the Kamehameha is the fire bending of this verse. So Giku's trying, he can't quite get it right, and then Chi Chi walks in and she's like, you know, if let's play a game where every time you light one of the lanterns with the Kamehameha, you get to take a step closer to me. And he's like, why would I want to do that? He's like a fucking an idiot. And she's like, well, because you'd be closer to me. And then he's like, done deal. And then he does like 3 out of 5 in a row, and then he fucks one up. And she's like, take a step back. And he's like, no, it wasn't part of the deal. She's like, it's my game, damn it. And then he does it perfectly, and then they get closer. I think they kiss at this moment. I don't know. It's so also, and I noticed because I'm a freak pervert, but every like my the two Asian women characters in this movie, Mai and Chi Chi, are both like hypersexualized, where like Mai is in the like skin tight Ada Wong suits, but then every time Chi Chi's in a scene, she is wearing like a low cut shirt with a push up bra on, and I don't quite know what that added to the lore, but it was noticeable. I was staring, and so was Giku. But I digress. Uh, Giku masters the Kamehameha because he wants pussy, and then Mai shows up, and she earlier when she stole Chi Chi's blood, I guess that gave her the mystical ability to look exactly like Chi Chi. They don't explain that; she just does it. She steals the Dragon Balls, and then they're like, "Yo, that's not Chi Chi." And then she pulls out a gun, and then she shoots the gun. It shoots fire, and then it like blocks the hallway. Oh, hold on, because this is a part that made me mad, where Giku lights the lanterns with his firebending Kamehameha, makes out with Chi Chi, and then she's like, "This would be a good time to put out all the lights," and then he airbends all the fire out in one fucking like whoosh. And then this scene, fake Chi Chi shoots fireball, lights up the hallway, and then Bulma and Yamcha are like, "We'll go find another way." And Goku like jumps through the fire like it's all badass. I'm like, literally less than 3 minutes ago, we saw that you can wave your hand and get rid of fire. Why didn't you do that? Why did the writers not care? What was the shot out of sequence? Because that's the only way. That's the only way. This is fine. They didn't do a second look at the script. They were like, write it and shoot it out. It doesn't matter. Oh yeah, Chi Chi fights fake Chi Chi, and then one of them goes like, "Giku, help me!" And then he beats the shit out of the real Chi Chi. He knocks her the fuck out, and then he sees the cut on her arm from the tournament, and he's like, "Oh shit, that's my wife!" And then the real one shoots the real Mai, the fake Chi Chi. I'm getting confused. Shoots Goku with her fireball gun, and he fucking dies. He is dead. And ideally, credits would just roll. It would be like Goku loses, Piccolo wins, the Earth is destroyed. That would have been fucking awesome. It would have saved me another like hour of the fucking movie. But then it cuts to Giku in heaven. Everything is blue to show you that it is heaven. Grandpa Gohan is over there, and he's like, "You shouldn't be dead yet." And then he's like, "Grandpa, what do I do?" And Grandpa again is like, "Believe in yourself." And then Giku's like, "You right. I need to drink water because I've been yapping too much." And then it cuts back to not heaven, and then they're like, "Oh shit, there has to be something we can do." And then Master Roshi does his gay little dance, and then does the Kamehameha, and then he resurrects Goku. He resuscitates Goku by like that brings him back like a defibrillator. And I'm like, okay, hey, something like this actually happens in Dragon Ball Super, where Goku hires the hitman Hit to fight him and beat his ass and kill him. Hit does this, and then before Hit lands the finishing blow, Goku throws a ball of energy like the Kamehameha into the air, and then it like lands back down, hits his chest, restarts his heart. Hey, you know what? Dragon Ball Evolution, you inspired a scene in Super a decade early. Good for you. What happens next? It cuts to Piccolo. He has all 7 Dragon Balls now because Mai just stole them. And then he's like, "Come on, Dragon." And then it cuts to a PS1 ass scene of graphics. of like the landscape changing and like becoming a rock wasteland. That doesn't happen when you summon the dragon. He just comes out. Giku and the gang are in a truck, and then it like morphs into a flying truck. But then because the PS1 graphics scene is happening, they crash and everyone is scattered. Giku is like, oh, now's my chance, and then he changes out of his normal boring ass clothes into not a 1-to-1 recreation of his outfit from the manga, where he has the blue shirt, the blue wristbands, the blue shoes, and the orange gi. But instead of looking like it does in the source material, it looks more like a real gi would in real life. Although he does have a big, ugly fucking belt that has the kanji for turtle on it, which in the manga that makes sense because he trained with Master Roshi, and in this one he hangs out with Master Roshi, but he just kind of tells him what to do instead of really training him. Master Roshi is like, I'm gonna use the Mafuba on Piccolo. He tries, he fucking fails because he sucks. Piccolo insta-kills Master Roshi. They don't have a real fight at all. Seems a little disappointing. Seems like they should have written that in. What happens next? Oh, yeah. Giku walks up with his, No, okay. I lied. I got ahead of myself. I'm making stuff up. I'm writing my own fan fiction. Giku walks up in his orange and blue gi, and then Piccolo goes, actually, you're not Giku. You're the Ozaru. You came down to planet Earth in a meteorite, and you've been waiting for this day to become my minion. And Giku goes like, that's not true. That's impossible. And he morphs into his werewolf gorilla form. Now, let's talk about the source material again. Like I said, in the source material, the Ozaru is the gigantic monkey form of the Saiyan race. Now, Goku himself is a Saiyan. This is not something that's revealed until Dragon Ball Z. But in the OG manga, Goku... My cat is screaming his head off. In the OG manga, Goku crash lands from Earth in a little spaceship, and he's found by Grandpa Gohan and raised. And he is like a very violent, angry child because he's an alien. And then one day he falls on his head and gets brain damage. And then he becomes the Goku we know and love. In this one, they were like, fuck that sucks. To hell with that. Let's do what we want. He is from a meteor, and he's a monkey, and he's Piccolo's slave. So then Giku werewolf transmogs into really, like, some of the worst CG I think I've ever seen and will see. Like, I don't think, like, this is the lowest the bar can get. And he walks up to Matt. Let me read my notes. Okay. Bulma and Yamcha are like in a cave system, and Yamcha's like, I'll hold him off. And then Gorillaku one punches Yamcha, and then Bulma gets away. Gorillaku then kills Master Roshi, and then he remembers Grandpa Gohan being like, believe in yourself. So then he stops being Gorillaku, which, thank God, I got tired of looking at it. And then Piccolo and Goku then just like start throwing CGI fireballs at each other for like 2 minutes. It's really ugly. It's really boring. It seems like, ChatGPT, show me a Dragon Ball fight. Bulma and Mai are in the cave system still, and they have a girl boss fight. And then Bulma is losing, and then Yamcha shows up. Oh, thank God Gorillaku didn't kill him too. Shoots Mai in the back, she falls over, and then Bulma goes, I was gonna win, even though she was losing. Giku goes, what did I write here? Oh yeah, he's like not with Piccolo anymore for some reason, and he's like, I need to accept that I am a monkey. He does a Dragon Ball scream, but it's really bad and poorly acted. I'm losing my voice. He does a shitty Dragon Ball scream. His eyes glow red, which is something that Dragon Ball Super adapts when they reintroduce Broly, and Broly has a half-human, half-Ozaru form. Holy shit. Dragon Ball Evolution is the peak of Dragon Ball media. It inspires everything in Super. Oh yeah, he goes, I am a monkey, but I'm also Giku. He channels his monkey strength. He does the actual pose you do for Kamehameha, and then he launches it at Piccolo, who is like charging up a big red fireball. But then also when he like shoots the Kamehameha, Giku jumps, and it looks really fucking ugly and bad. And then he clashes with Piccolo. They blow up. Piccolo's dead, I guess, because Giku looks at his corpse and is like, nice. Then they go to Roshi's body and they're like, damn, that sucks. If only we could do something. And Giku's like, we'll res him with the Dragon Balls. They summon the dragon, who couldn't look less like Shenron. Shenron from Dragon Ball is like a undeterminately long green Chinese dragon. He's so long that like not all of him even comes out of the Dragon Balls. In this, it looks like they went to google.ca and went Chinese dragon, 3D assets, downloaded whatever the first fucking thing they saw, put in the movie. He's not green, he's just like beige brown, and they're like, give life to Muten Roshi. They res Master Roshi, and he's like, I had the craziest dream where Grandpa Gohan said I was still a little bitch, and Giku's like, he's right. Right, and then Bulma and Yamcha are like, we have to go get the Dragon Balls again, because they scatter after you summon Shenron. The Dragon Balls scatter across the earth. They were true with that. Bulma and Yamcha are like, we gotta go get them, and Goku goes, well, but first there's something I gotta do. He goes back to Chi-Chi, and then he's like, sorry I beat the living fuck out of you and knocked you on your ass. I didn't know it was you. There was another lady that looked just like you. Whoops. And she's like, hey, I let you win. And he's like, yeah, right. And then they're like, we gotta see who the real winner is. And then it cuts to a really bad slow motion shot of Goku throwing a punch and Chi-Chi throwing a jump kick, and then it says Dragon Ball Evolution, and you're supposed to go, yeah, but I crashed out. And then the credits started playing, and I was like, thank God it's over. The credits only play for a little bit. There's a post-credit scene where there's a woman. I think it's supposed to be Mai. I wasn't quite sure. Who else could it be, though? Like, making medicine or whatever, and then she walks up to a lump in a bed, and you don't see what it is. And then it pans upwards, and then Piccolo, like, wakes up and, like, looks at her, but he looks at her like, what'd you fucking wake me up for? And then then the real credits start, and it's like, oh my God, they're gonna do a sequel where they have to fight Piccolo again. But thankfully, God is real, and we never got that fucking sequel, and we never will. Or else. But I think if I was gonna give it a rating, I would give it a holy fuck. Why'd they do this to me out of 10? I think this is like on the list of worst movies ever made, and it deserves it. It's like a personal fuck you to every fan of Dragon Ball. A rumor I heard is that, Dragon Ball Evolution came out, everyone fucking hated it. Akira Toriyama was like, I cannot let this be Dragon Ball's legacy, because on the timeline it was like the manga, the anime, the GT anime, which is divisive, but better than Dragon Ball Evolution, I think. I hope. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. Next review, and then this in like 2006, 2007, and Akira Toriyama was like, no fucking shot is Dragon Ball Evolution going to be the thing everyone fucking remembers. So then he comes back, he writes Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, one of the best Dragon Ball Z movies. It resurrects the franchise. There's then another movie. Then they do the Dragon Ball Super show. Then they've done two more. Holy shit. 2 more movies after that, and the manga is still kind of going. It's been on hiatus since Akira Toriyama died, but now Dragon Ball Evolution is just a wet diaper that we have all mostly forgotten about. And sometimes I say like, oh, you should go watch this. Don't go watch this. It is kind of like so bad it's like funny in some shots. It's only an hour and a half, but also I implore you, do not watch this. Your life will be better for it if you don't watch it. The very bottom thing in my notes app is just that there's really dog shit ADR the entire movie, which there is. I don't think Grandpa Gohan had a single line in the movie that was like from when they shot the movie, and they just had him come back in on a mic and say the lines again, and you could tell because it doesn't match up. I don't know. A bit of a wet fart to end on my little rant, but I had an idea of watching. I haven't watched the Dragon Ball animes since I was a little baby. I've mostly just read the manga. I read the manga like every year, basically. But I haven't checked out the anime again. I was thinking maybe doing videos where I do that, and maybe this could be the jumping off point in that. I don't know. We'll see. I might not. I definitely want to review Dragon Ball Daima. I still plan on doing that, but maybe that would make more sense to do after I review the rest of the show. Now I'll probably do the Daima review first. Well, that's gonna be the end of this one. Thank you for watching me cringe and shit myself over this bad movie. Bye.